What if I told you that authenticity isn't just about being yourself? It's about allowing yourself to evolve, to step into alignment, and to create space for ease in your life and business. Well, in this episode, we sit down with the incredible Adhya Rose, an efficiency and energetics coach who helps heart-centered entrepreneurs build businesses that actually support their lives, not take them over. We dive deep into what it truly means to be authentic, why so many of us struggle to ask for support, and how the systems we create, both personal and professional, can either keep us stuck or set us free. And of course, because we never just stay on the surface in these conversations, we explore the concept of surrender and control. Yes, that C word, and the magic of allowing. You won't want to miss this one. Hi there. Welcome to the Empowered and Embodied Show. I'm Kim Romain.
And I'm Louise Neil. We're two transformational coaches who are also fellow travelers on the path of growth and self-discovery. And we're inviting you along for the ride.
That's right. We're right here in the trenches with you, navigating the ups and downs of life. And each week we'll be sharing our own experiences, bringing you conversations with amazing guests, and exploring insights and strategies that have helped us find more clarity, confidence, and ease in our lives.
And trust us, we do not have it all figured out. We're learning and growing right alongside you.
So if you're ready to rise above the chaos, doubt, and confusion that sometimes life throws our way,
and step into a more empowered and embodied version of yourself,
then you're in the right place. Let's get started. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Empowered and Embodied Show. I am one of your co-hosts, Kim Romain, joined as always by my other co-host.
That's me. I'm Louise. And we have our very special guest today. I'm so excited.
Adhya Rose.
Adhya, we're so glad that you are here with us today. Let the world know just a little bit about you. So Adhya is an efficiency and energetics coach who empowers purpose-driven and heart-centered entrepreneurs to streamline their businesses and create time freedom. Ooh, that sounds juicy. Her systems-based approach helps change makers and healers harness the power of systems, energetic efficiency, and mindset shifts to transform their business operations with my two favorite words, with ease. Passionate about fostering community and aligning to holistic living, her work aims to support individuals and organizations in living authentically while impacting positive change. She offers services that help businesses thrive sustainably and efficiently. When she's not coaching, she loves exploring nature, traveling, and connecting with fellow entrepreneurs to spark new possibilities for growth. I feel like you're speaking my love language. We are so glad you're here.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Our pleasure.
I'm so happy to be here. These conversations are excited to talk to the two of you. These conversations are magical.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
They are. So much magical in that bio that Kim read. I could see her getting like all tingly as she's talking about energy and time freedom and all of those things. I got real curious around like this idea of helping people be authentic and stepping into that. I want to know what that means to you. Like what is authentic and what does that mean to step into it?
Yeah. So interestingly enough, this question actually lends itself to embodiment and alignment. And so I guess what I would say is authenticity to me is a number of different factors, but it brings in recognizing a person's needs, recognizing a person's desires, recognizing a person's values, and then living in alignment with those areas of your life. And so I think a lot of times, especially as entrepreneurs, especially as women, especially as mothers, we have a very, very hard time living within our realm of what we actually need, even asking for what we need in the first place, recognizing what we need let alone asking for it, let alone actually living within the realm of what we need. Because there's there's so much going on in the world. We were just talking about this. There's so much going on in the world right now. Life is a whole different ball game than it ever has been. Energies are high. There's a lot of, our economy it's really incredible trying to function within the world that we've created for ourselves here now as human beings in general, but then you have the layers of being a woman and being a mother. So I support entrepreneurs who are purpose driven. So in what way do you want to show up in the world and make a difference and be of service? And that might mean creating art. It might mean, it could mean all sorts of things, but as long as a person's coming from a place of values, and integrity, what way do you want to show up in the world? And how do you want to be in service? And then functioning within what you need and what's most in alignment for you in terms of values. So those pieces come into play a lot in the work that I do with entrepreneurs because, like I said, we're pulled in so many different directions.
Yeah.
So
you used some words in there that right. Absolutely. Like I said, you're speaking my love language here.
yeah.
And I think can be really confusing to people.
Okay.
Right. Because, and I did I feel this when I use my own words and people are like, I really want to be there with you and yet have no idea really what you mean.
Right.
So, right. Words like we talk about here, embodied. What does embodiment mean? What does alignment mean? What does, right? So how do we even know that we're doing these things? What has some of your experiences been with yourself and or your clients?
Yeah. So alignment, I would say alignment is knowing who you are and what you want. And that can be a challenge in the first place. Alignment is living from a place of who you are and what you want for your life and what's meaningful to you, which comes down to values. And I think values can even be confusing for people sometimes, but it's like what really lights your heart on fire? What matters to you in life? Is it is it family? Is it freedom? Or is it service? Or is it art? What are the things that really light you on fire? And then living from that place and allowing yourself to follow that thread. Because in my opinion and in my experience, working with lots of clients over the years, but also working with mentors and working with, big thought leaders, in my experience, following what lights you on fire is the best way to be of service to yourself and to the world. And so I have a client who is a body talk practitioner, and she's phenomenal. She's a phenomenal healer. She has actually, I don't know in terms of medical terms what you're supposed to say and what you're not supposed to say, but she has had a young child client who has overcome epilepsy. Very serious, very advanced epilepsy. And so anyways, she's an incredible healer and doing all of this incredible work in the world and then really struggling to receive support. So her needs are not being met. And, she's going home, she's going to work and she's creating miracles, absolute miracles. She's worked with me and created phenomenal change in my life. This woman is creating miracles and then she's going home and does not have the support of her family. And I mean, she's also struggling to ask for it. There's, responsibility on both sides. There always is, but doesn't have the support of her family. So she's just bent over backwards doing all of the home stuff and all the stuff with the children and, helping out family members and struggling to ask for help. So alignment partly for her is figuring out what her needs are and how she can ask for help and then working to overcome the blocks that she has to asking for help. Because a lot of us do. A lot of us, I don't know what the age range would be, but a lot of women beyond a certain age were taught to be seen and not heard. And, that we were, a lot of times we were taught to be seen and not heard and taught not to have needs. It's a lot more appealing for, a little girl, a lot more attractive for a little girl, it was back in the day, to be seen and not heard and not to have needs. So we're retraining feeling safe to ask for what we need. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
It's really, it's this really I was gonna say it's a two-sided coin, but it's really like multifaceted in the sense of understanding, first of all, that we have needs, because that's true, and we can walk around thinking that we don't, especially when we're in service, like when we're in that space of servicing as a profession, and then finding language to ask, or finding the ability to ask for that support, for that help. And I think there's even a mindset around deserving. Do I deserve to have that support? Do I deserve to have that need being met? There's this needy versus needs, I think, that we can fall into as well. To say, like, I don't want to be needy, so I'll just play the game. I'll just do this thing over here because I don't want to be seen as needy, or, right, overly clingy, I guess is the word I was looking for.
Overly over.
Yeah.
Overly over, right? And we fall into this trap as women because we're playing so many parts. And it's these parts that we play that I think that's how we can find our authenticity and like who we are authentically. But we fall into these systems and structures of like, this is what it means to be a mom. This is what it means to be a spouse or a partner. This is what it means to be a woman entrepreneur. This is what it means to be a female professional. And we fall into those so easily. And when they're not aligned with who we are, it starts to pull us apart.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and I think that it can be quite easy for us to say, well, I can carry it all, like for a period of time, and then life happens. Like, it's one thing, when things are fairly level, to be able to carry it all, because we're pretty magical creatures. It's pretty incredible how well we can multitask, really, if we really want to, but then our health gives out after a little while. Or there's a major something in the family that happens, or something that happens in life, and you realize, I can't carry it all. I need support. And you haven't necessarily put the structures in place to be able to receive that support. Or there's still a lot of fear, or doubt, or whatever, about asking for support there. Like you say, a lot of people just don't necessarily feel comfortable asking for help. And you see this all the time. But actually, a group of friends and so I have a group of girlfriends that come co-work with me. We're all entrepreneurs, and I have them at my place on Wednesdays. It's awesome. They're amazing, magical women. There's 8 of us. And just yesterday, I guess it would be 2 days ago, we were co-working at my place, and there were 3 of us were in tears because of events of the last week and a half. It's been super intense for lots of people. There's been a lot going on. And what we came up with was, I don't know if either of you have heard of this, but Simon Sinek came up with this idea. It was from an interaction he had with a friend, that all a person ever needs is 8 minutes if they're in a crisis. Yeah. And so if you're in a crisis, and you can install this with friends ahead of time, that if you're in a crisis, you reach out to them and you just say 8 minutes, so that they know. And all a person ever needs is 8 minutes to be held, to feel safe again when you're in a crisis situation. So just even having some tools like that in place, to be able to start calling in support. So we all decided with each other, our little group, that anytime somebody puts 8 minutes, somebody will reach out, somebody will help and be available. So yeah, I think that, yeah.
That's the power of community, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly
and of systems.
Yeah.
Going to rate, like, one of your
Yeah.
wheelhouses is that place of, how do we create the systems? Because listening to both of you, and I'm thinking, this is not new.
Yeah.
What we are dealing with, particularly as people identify as women, is not new. I've been on this earth for 55 years, and I know we've made strides forward and we're making massive strides backwards. And this has happened multiple times in my lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we'll move forward again. Like I'm not totally worried that we won't move forward again. And yet, what is it that keeps us in this shifting back and forth to me is systems. It's
Mm-hmm.
the systems that have been built that as
Yeah.
humans we have created to keep us constantly in this battle.
Mm-hmm.
And yet there's magic in systems like 8 minutes and other things that we can create
Yeah.
that allow us to begin to shift out of the narratives that have already come through to us to
Yeah.
say, no, this is how you have to show up in the world.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, and yeah, I would agree entirely. So the reason that I do what I do is because I want to support people who are purpose driven and change makers, people who want to make a difference in living in a better world and impacting change in systems. And so that comes in all forms. Like I said, sometimes it's an artist who's impacting positive change in the world, right? But like all sorts of different forms. But on a larger scale, what I'm super passionate about is those systems changing to be more supportive to human life because,
Yeah.
yeah, because things have not been overly sustainable the last little while. So, yeah, the efficiency and system stuff for me, that's the place that it comes from.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't agree more. It's that we have, I don't know how sustainable it's been for a long time,
Yeah.
but we've been building towards something that I think we as humans totally screwed up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Like we
Absolutely.
moved out of
Absolutely.
this like tribal mindset into this,
Yes.
let's have these institutions that are there to care for the community, to
Yes.
then, oh shit, now all we're doing is caring for the institutions that are
Yep.
screwing humanity.
Yes. Exactly.
And now we're seeing that start to erode.
Mm-hmm.
And it's now, right, the institutions themselves are having their own death now.
Yeah.
And which is creating a lot of the strife that we're feeling. And I know we were talking before we hit go um about kind of cosmically what is
Yeah.
showing up. And neither of us are, none of us on the screen here, we're not astrologers, this is not our profession, it's not what we do. And yet all of us are keenly aware of what's
Yes.
happening.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. I know you really feel it now. It is like you said, I think there's a higher sensitivity to it in general, but especially with people who are a little more conscious or a little more aware of what's, going on in the world, or you've been opening yourself up and becoming more embodied. I think when you start living in your body more is, embodiment, and start living in your body more, you're actually aware of what's going on around you and you feel all of these things. And so I think in general, people are kind of being forced to live in that way now, even those who are not super awake. And so then that's scary for people that are, that are not super awake because they feel these things, but they don't know what it is. But even for conscious people, yeah, like you can feel it all coming up. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And it
yeah,
it's in those times, right, when things are changing and we're feeling something maybe we haven't felt before or haven't felt for a really long time, that really starts to feel wobbly for a lot of people because we don't understand that it's maybe an awakening or it's like a birthing into something new and wonderful. It's like we're just worried about shedding the old stuff. And
yeah,
we try really hard to hang on to it when what we
mhm,
need is to shed it.
yep,
And I find this a lot when I work with clients around values and beliefs because
mm,
we all talk about that's a fundamental core of self-awareness is understanding our values and our beliefs and our beliefs ours and not are we not hanging on to something that's a limiting belief or belongs to someone else.
yeah,
And and as we kind of go through this transformation of what's happening in the world, it really starts if we don't have those foundational pieces, if we don't know what our values are, it feels like we're being pulled apart. So instead of a shedding of something old and like stepping into something that could be new and exciting and amazing and brilliant, we're like, oh, I'm being pulled apart.
Yeah.
And we just struggle to put back on, right, these old clothes and these old things. We don't get a chance to shine. We don't actually get a chance to be authentically us because we're too worried about what feels like it's falling apart.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's that
So,
word again,
wh-
authentic.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about the two of you, but for me, a lot of things come down to authentic and embodiment and alignment. It all
Right?
comes back to that. And
Yeah.
I, for personally, for myself, I'm returning to it all the time. Like I literally was just writing in my journal this morning. I've been, off balance. I've been off balance a little bit the last little while. I've gone too hard. I've pushed myself too hard. And so, coming back into balance is like, okay, what do I need? What do I want? What does this next 90 days look for me? My second quarter of my year, what does that look like for me to be more taken care of and to be able to show up? And yeah, like that's I guess the core of what I do is help people show up in their businesses and create, impact in the world while being taken care of themselves. And I'm a work in progress. It's a work in progress for me every day. Like I think that's important to know is that people are human. And it's like this is something that I work with every day, every week, every month. I'm always constantly refining and getting better, and I get better all the time. But it's a journey. Like this alignment and embodiment and authenticity are a journey. You don't just all of a sudden, I mean, I don't know, maybe in some reality, some dimension somewhere, but not
Not
that
one
I've
I've met.
seen.
yeah.
Exactly. You don't just
I
all of a
agree.
sudden, boom, I'm in alignment with all of my 8 values and all of my 8 needs. And, I'm embodying everything that I've ever wanted to be immediately. Like it's a journey. So it's returning to it all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Well, we
Yeah.
talk
Yeah.
about that all the time, that it's like it's not magically you're going to be empowered and you're going to be embodied and you're going to be right,
Yeah.
all of these things. It's no, there is the messiness
Yes.
in understanding this is what we're unfolding into, not
Hmm.
that it is the end goal. The end
Yes.
goal isn't to live an embodied life. The end goal is not to live an empowered life. The end goal is to experience what those things are and to continue to um, unveil them as they
Mhm.
reveal themselves in our lives as we go through the human experience.
Yeah.
That's what I think, anyway.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
part of the end goal for me is experiencing inner peace despite whatever is happening around me, and supporting other people to do the same. Because life is never going to be, we don't live in a vacuum. Things happen, things come up. It's a human experience. We've got all sorts of things happening on a day-to-day basis that we respond to. But I think if we can cultivate as much inner peace as possible, my partner and I were just talking about this last night because he's reading the Tibetan book of the living and dying or something
Mhm.
like that. I haven't read it yet. He says it's really good, but it talks quite a bit about equanimity. And I went and did a Vipassana retreat a few years ago, 11-day Vipassana meditation retreat. And they talk a lot about equanimity, which is like finding peace in your circumstances. It's
Mhm.
it's having that inner peace to guide you through or to, carry you through no matter what's happening. And it doesn't mean you always feel like everything's perfect, but you feel a little more resourced, like a little more capable, a little more centered, a little more something grounded,
Oh,
through yeah,
Well, that's what I call ease. That's
exactly.
that's what I consider
Yes.
to be ease, because
Yes.
ease to me is not that place of everything is perfect and everything is easy and it's simple. No, it's that place of equanimity. It's that place of
Yes.
shit's falling apart
Yeah.
and I can still tap into inner peace.
I have a certain theory or belief, so I'm just going to put it out there. Like, do we need to have this shitstorm that happens in order for us to practice inner peace? Like, do we need to have chaos? Do we need to have like those things go off the rails so that we can practice this inner peace thing? Like, do we need both?
Can I speak to that? What
Of
my
course.
what my
Yeah.
view on
Yeah.
that would be? I think that so my belief is that we and you know everybody's got their own beliefs, but my belief is I believe in reincarnation and I believe that we choose and we choose what our lifetimes are going to be ahead of time. I believe in karma. And I think part of what karma means is that we are sitting there in between our lifetimes and we look and we go, what kinds of lessons am I ready to learn this time around? And we choose a journey that we're going to choose in on. And as cosmic beings in between lifetimes, we're not concerned with emotional and physical pain and all of that because it's a non-issue as a consciousness. Like when we're just consciousness, physical and emotional pain is a non-issue. So we're going, okay, yeah, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to achieve in my next lifetime. And then we come here, and I think that the chaos and the things that happen around us are partly aligned with what we've chosen for our journey. And I can say that as somebody who's coming from a really rough background. A lot of stuff has happened in my life, and at this point, that's my view on it, is that I think that maybe as a collective we've chosen into this journey to we've designed this reality where the chaos and the pain and the destruction, it's a lot, and it's awful at times, but also we realize on some level that it's teaching us things and that we're growing from it and we're becoming more and we're evolving and we are meeting our karma in some way. And I don't mean that. I think a lot of people take karma as in like you did something wrong and you're paying for it, but I don't see karma that way at all. I see karma more as like how would I explain that?
Is it more like through a Taoist lens that you're
Yeah.
talking about? Yeah.
Yeah, it's more of a Taoist lens. It's more of like, it's just something that you are learning. It's part of it's almost like it's a balancing out. Like you've had these experiences in your lifetimes before, in your prior lifetimes, and you're just kind of like balancing out the energies. And so there's some of this chaos that you meet with that's helping you learn and grow and change in the ways that you need in order to move forward. And that's my personal experience has been that way. Like I've, come through a lot of different things, and I've found that each experience has been really, really hard and has resourced me in different ways. And I feel so much stronger and so much more humble and so much more patient and all of these things because of these really hard things that I've been through. And honestly, I don't think I would be that person without those experiences. I don't feel like you have to have hard experiences either, but anyways, that's my view on it.
I that resonates a lot with me. I think that I would build on it just a little bit, right? With this idea of we are here collectively to evolve humanity.
Mm-hmm.
And so in order to evolve the collective, we all have this different imprint, right? I talk about it in terms of our core wound, what we are brought here in this lifetime to experience. And there's multiple levels of that. But when we come into this lifetime, this is our unique experience as part of the collective. And as the collective is in this moment, it feels like struggling to evolve, fighting that evolution.
Sorry,
Just
that's a
feels
good
like
word.
it. Kind of feels like it. As individuals, we also have our own unique evolutionary path. And so those two things tying together bump up against each other, right? I know, Louise, you and I've talked a lot about this place of where our energy bumps into other people's energy, right? It's like I can do my work, but if I bump up against somebody who is, I'm going to use the word loosely, triggering an aspect of me that hasn't been healed
Mhm.
yet, then I have another opportunity to learn something about myself.
Yeah.
It's not about them, it's about me,
Yeah.
right? And so that
Exactly.
just kind of builds just a little bit on what
Yeah.
you were saying. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, and I think I like the word when you said opportunity, I went, that's what karma is.
Yeah.
It's opportunities to build on who we've been in the past. And people, it sometimes can feel hard and awful. And, can be really difficult life experiences that bring about those kinds of things. But that's what that makes me think of is karma being opportunities. Like they're opportunities that present themselves. And it is, I think the further along your path you get, the more you realize that the times that you bump into people really are opportunities. Like you become aware that every time you bump into somebody, it's an opportunity to see that mirror of yourself. How is this triggering me? What is it doing in my system? And what is it that I can let go? What is there that I can let go of that I can, that I can grow into?
Yeah.
So to answer your question though, Louise, it doesn't have to be chaotic or destructive, right? It doesn't have to be this all-encompassing thing. But I do think that those opportunities, those even micro conflicts that can occur, and I'm not talking about microaggressions because that's macro, but right, these micro conflicts that we have within ourselves do create that opportunity for growth, expansion, and evolution.
Mhm.
Yeah. And only when we see it that way,
Hmm.
right? It's
Well,
only,
well, is that
is
true
it
though?
not?
This is curious to me because is it like it? Do you have to be quote unquote awoken, right? Do you have to be awake and aware and conscious to be evolving? Or can you be like, are we evolving even if we're not aware that that's happening?
I think we're evolving, kicking and screaming.
I think so too. Like, I mean, I look at some of the people in the world that are kicking and screaming and that are definitely not wanting to be in the space, don't even believe in the space, thinks the space is freaking ridiculous.
Yeah.
And they are evolving. Just because they're not evolving in the direction we might want them to doesn't mean they're not evolving.
Right. Or as quickly as we want them to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I think of, so this is deeply personal, but I think of my sister. My sister was an addict. She passed away a few years ago. And, she was a lot of people would have looked at her and gone, she's not evolving. She's crazy. She had all this chaos happening in her life and all sorts of drama. And like, she wasn't a very nice person at a lot of times. She was an addict. But I would speak with her here and there. And it was really interesting to me to see her in the last 10 years of her life. She spent a lot of that last 10 years in psychosis. So she didn't make a lot of sense even. But it was really interesting to me to see through that 10 years, the times that I spoke with her, to see her evolving. And really quite a lot, actually, within that really messy, really chaotic journey. And I think a lot of times we can't really know for sure how people are evolving through their journey. It can be in a lot of ways that we don't recognize.
Yeah.
And even, each person has a very, personal.
Which feels back to that, we are still talking underneath this about authenticity.
Yes.
Because it's our authentic experience of whatever evolutionary process we're on.
Yes, exactly.
Louise, I saw a deep thought in your face there.
Well, and owning that, because that's where we kind of started with this conversation, is like sometimes it gets hard to own that our experience, our authentic experience, is ours, and we get to wear it however we want. And I think the more we can step into that, and the more we can wear it and share it, then it creates these ripple effects for other folks to kind of tap into their own authentic journey. Like, I think, when you're talking about, yes, we can evolve right? Without intention. And I believe we can miss something deeply about understanding who we are if we're not paying attention,
Mm-hmm.
Oh, 100%.
right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think the more we pay attention to like what our own journey is and that it's authentic to us, we make these little micro choices all the time. And when we can start to see that weaves our own authentic being, I think that's cool to be a part of because we get to see this creation. We get to see the work in progress. We get to see the mess, but we also get to see like what comes out the other side. I keep thinking of like this. Did you ever have a knitting Nancy? Do you know that these little
No.
no? So like these little like spools that had these nails on top and you could crochet or weave these little rope. It would come out the backside.
Oh, I've
And
seen
so
them. Okay.
mine it was called Knitting Nancy because it was shaped like a female and you twisted the threads and but it's these threads that we get to pull together and we get to create or craft something that's totally unique to
Right.
us.
Yeah,
And I
and we
think
can all,
that's yeah.
I was just going to say we can only really do that powerfully if we're conscious of
Mhm.
ourselves, right? And our authenticity. Like, I think, like you're saying, we can evolve unconsciously, but if we really want to create something in the world, like there has to be a consciousness of what we're weaving and what we want to weave.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that level of awareness
Yeah.
is key to I'm going to use a word here that I don't usually use. It's key to having a semblance of control over it.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
or intentionality is probably the better word that I mean, but control came through, so I want to stick with
Yeah.
whatever
Said
came
the
through.
C word. Yeah.
I said the C word. I don't normally say the C word. That's my naughty C word. But this idea of if we're thinking about intentionally pulling these threads together, does that give us a semblance of control in our lives?
Yeah. I mean, I think it probably does on one level for sure. Yeah,
I mean, inner peace gives us a sense of control.
it does. A
Absolutely.
lot of things give us a sense of control. Yeah. And I think there's kind of like a balance there. Do you like, do you need control in order to feel in peace? Or are you, you know, surrendering to the best of your ability, but controlling the pieces that are going to bring you more peace, maybe. I'm not sure exactly. Do you know what
Yeah,
I'm
no,
saying? There's
I hear
something
you.
there
Yeah,
where there's a balance.
I think there is I would lean towards this idea that it's not actually giving us control
Hmm.
and that surrendering, right? And it's so
Yeah.
interesting because through human design, through the gates that we're in, surrender is actually the word right now. And so this place of surrender where it is to say, I have these threads. I'm intentionally seeing how these threads pull together and
Hmm.
working with them to pull them together. So it feels like control,
Yeah.
but we're not actually taking control of anything
Right.
because we're surrendering control to have the feeling that brings us that sense of grounding and control that we often feel out of because the world is spinning in so many
Yeah.
different directions. I
Yeah.
don't know. I have to listen back to what I just said, but it
Yeah.
felt right.
Yeah. I hear what
Yeah.
you're saying, and it felt right
Yeah.
to me too. I can
Okay.
feel that. Like there's like a real nourishing not authenticity, but like a real nourishing truth to that sense of like it's like a holding but not holding. Like
Mhm.
you're weaving, something with intention and with grace. And so there's technically maybe a sense that you are controlling things in some way, but at the same time, you're completely letting go, and that you're taken care of. Like I that's what that feels like to me, is all yeah, I guess what I can say.
Yeah. Oh, it's this cool rebranding of this word, I think, too, right? This word
Yeah.
control. Like, what does
Yeah.
that mean? And how can we, hold something and let it go at the same time? I think that's really
Exactly.
powerful.
Well,
Yeah.
to me, that's freedom.
Yeah.
That's freedom. Is being able to, choose in and have desires and direct your life in this artistic weaving way, but also be accepting of what may come, and allowing what comes.
Yeah. That
Mhm.
word allowing is, I think you nailed it with that, because there is that sense that we're not gripping, we're not holding, we're allowing.
Yep.
uh, We're allowing from a space of co-creation. We're allowing from a space of um, integration and almost partnership. The
Mhm.
word that I actually want isn't coming to me, but it's that place where we are taking some part in it, but
Yeah.
we are not. Louise, we haven't talked about the bus with the kids throwing the bologna sandwiches and juice boxes in a while, but we're not trying to drive that bus,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The bus isn't even in the picture right now, but it's because we have that, like, we're taking part, we're being active in it,
Yeah.
right?
Like a
It's not passive.
collaboration. It's
Yeah,
like a collaboration. Like we're asking for what we want and then
right.
letting it come and
Yeah.
letting
Well,
go of what doesn't come. And
it's the true essence of manifestation is a specific, non-specific manifestation, which is what I have to do.
yeah.
Which is that place of this is what I want, and then you let go of how
Yes,
it's going to happen and how it's actually going to come to you.
Yes.
exactly. And that's the beauty of, that's what opens you up to
Mhm.
receiving, is that surrender. Yeah.
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 Letting it come through. Yeah.
Just in
Okay.
case you weren't sure, we go deep, by the way.
This is me. This is so
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
there's very little chit chat that happens
Yeah.
on the surface here. We just want to go deep because that's a part of like what we're bringing into the world, right?
Yeah.
Is like how are we bringing ourselves, our whole selves, like the deepest parts of ourselves, and that is the core of authenticity, right?
Mhm.
That is what we're talking about here today, but always there's this thread that weaves through our lives to say like the deeper we can go and the stuff we can puke out or the
Mhm.
vulnerability that we can share with one another, like that just builds, it doesn't just build our own agency and build our own, right, authenticity, our own authentic self and how we're expressing that, but it ripples out into the world. It
Yep.
impacts the people who are in our close communities, but then we get to impact even beyond that. And I think that's kind of the core of like what Kim and I are doing here, but what we're doing here too, Adhya, what you're doing,
Mhm.
like what we're doing with our guests here too is like how do we bring more of that forward, because that's what we really need in these times.
Mhm.
All the time, not just these times, but
Yeah.
especially these.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that does shift that collective energy we
It
were talking
does.
about
It
earlier,
does.
Yeah.
right? When we do our deep work,
Yeah.
and that deep work can look so different, right? It can look like partnering with me to do something, and partnering with each of you to do something else. It's like all of us can support the same individual, the same organization, the same, right, whatever, in different ways, and therefore the collective continues to shift.
Yeah.
But it is that work that we're all doing,
Mhm.
that on the screen that we're all doing,
Yeah.
and that we are inviting other people into.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think what that makes me think of is so my partner and I get into conversations about this. He's a very deep thinker, very big thinker as well. And he has times where he says, how do we know that things are inherently good? And I'm like, my view is that things are 51%, that we are, we have this consciousness that's 51% good, that's pulling us forward. And when we can tap into our inner world, we tap into that consciousness that's 51% good, that pushes our world forward in a positive direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I look at that and I say, that's beautiful. And what if, yes, because I want to believe in that too, right? I want to believe that we are moving forward in our evolution. Nobody gave us a blueprint. We actually don't get to know. And what if that's not the blueprint? What if there is no blueprint and it's like, and here was the spark and y'all figure out what to do with it?
Yeah.
And
there's also
right,
that possibility.
because human free will and all that stuff, and
Yeah.
we can do whatever we want, and as human beings we have a tendency to experiment to a degree that leaves us very confused about which direction we're going, and so therefore what is good. Like I think I know, I think you
Right.
like, I think all three of us would agree on what that looks like. But is that really, really real? Like, I mean, that's a whole nother deep philosophical conversation.
Honestly. Yeah. Well, and that's exactly it. And that's part of the being human, right? Is exploring all of those different possibilities. Like, yeah, like I say, my partner and I get into like hours long conversations about, well, what if it's this? But what if it could be this? And, all of the different possibilities. And that's a possibility, that we're just here and figuring it out as we go.
Yeah.
I think it comes down to each person's just choice of what they, what resonates with them, what they decide to land on. And because for myself, one of my deepest core beliefs is infinite possibility and freedom. Like, I truly believe in those things, and they've been coded into me since birth. Like, I was born with these things, and it's part of what my gifts were coming into the world. I'm definitely more inclined to believe that there's, like, I believe that we're evolving in a positive direction, and that, like, it's coded into me. But I absolutely believe that everybody can see things differently, and there's all sorts of different possibilities.
Yeah, I was coded to bring in doubt and confusion into the world. So
Exactly.
I'm just doing my job.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying, is that everybody's got their journey. And that's like, my partner, I deeply value and respect his views and who he is as a person. And he was coded in a similar way. Yeah. To question things and, yeah.
Exactly. Because so I, like I said, yes, I very much believe that we are here to evolve our consciousness to this place of higher consciousness, to a place of non-harm, to a place to this amazing space where we are not feeling that the pain and the suffering through humanity.
Yeah.
And through that process, we need those of us to ask these questions that are like, and is this the direction we're really headed? Is this direction you as an individual want to head? Is this what are those things? And to cast that place of doubt and confusion, I had to do it in my own world for a long time, right? That we come in with these core wounds because we have to wrestle with them, not because we're supposed to just put them on other people or do our work in that way.
Right.
And so allowing ourselves the space to work through those gifts that we were given, and those, I love the word gifts. We all know that means, what is that thing that's going to keep resurfacing in your life, and that lesson that you keep relearning?
Yes.
Right?
True that.
Right? So,
yep.
damn it.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
We could probably continue this conversation for another week and a half. And for our listeners, we are going to find our golden nuggets and see what are those things that we're really taking away from our conversation today. So what do we think? What are those golden nuggets?
I really like this whole idea. I know we started talking about authenticity, and it seemed like maybe we got off track, except we didn't. And we landed on this word allowing. And I loved the conversation today, and how we were like we were able to kind of weave that. And I really believe that when we can allow ourselves to be whole and brilliant, and allow ourselves to know ourselves, that really is that true authenticity that we were talking about. So I really loved that part of our conversation today, and I thought it was neat how we it felt like we went through the whole alphabet and we came back to the letter A, and that was kind of awesome. How about you, Adya?
Yeah, well, along a similar lines, I felt like this was a really refreshing um recap for myself on the relationship between authenticity and embodiment. And also just inviting to add to what you were saying, Louise, like also inviting those parts of ourselves that we don't like so much, because that's authenticity, is, you know, living in grace and forgiveness for ourselves, and trusting ourselves to come through in the way that we will need to in order to put us where we want to be in our lives. I think that um yeah, I feel like this conversation gave me a really beautiful full-bodied picture of authenticity, in terms of getting in touch with what you want, but also who you truly are and what you need, and coming forward with all of that. And that really the most amazing thing you can do for yourself and the world is to just come forward with all of who you are, and then use that, that surrender and that allowing to just move forward without holding yourself back, and without holding yourself back. Yeah, I think that's
Yeah, I love that. Again, building off of that, I feel like early on in the conversation, we did talk about systems,
Mhm.
and to kind of bring it home to that as well,
Mhm.
of the way we support ourselves in finding this place of allowing, in releasing the C word type control to the place of, oh, but I feel the control because I feel peace of mind, because I feel the freedom. And
Mhm.
so therefore I can hold in a different way, comes through the systems that
Mhm.
we are creating for ourselves
Mhm.
and through our communities and for the collective.
Yes.
And so, yeah, so that was just one other part I wanted to make sure we didn't lose, because I thought it was
Yeah.
important.
Thank
So,
you.
yeah. So where can people find you in the world
Yeah.
and
So
connect with you?
thank you. I'm on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn. I have a website. It's just my name, www.adhyarose.com. So you can find lots of content on Instagram, some on LinkedIn. Um, yeah, those are the places you can find me.
Great,
Yeah.
great. And do you have anything special coming out in the world in the next month or two that you think people might be interested in?
Yeah, so I do. I didn't really speak much to what I actually do. Like,
Right.
I didn't really say much of what I actually do, but so I support entrepreneurs in implementing systems in their business that allow them to be able to grow sustainably. So the whole idea is, we talked about women and, entrepreneurs in general, and people being pulled in a lot of different directions. The idea is having systems in place that support you so that you're not having to manage everything yourself, and so that you can grow sustainably and actually scale. So I have a program starting in about a month here. It's called Scaling with Ease. It's for small business owners. And the idea is, each month we learn how to implement a new type of system in your business, so that by the time you get to the end of the year, your business is running much more autonomously. So you're able to step back if you need to, hire if you're ready to, and just be able to scale sustainably. So yeah, so it's a 12-month program. It's a module per month. We learn about a new aspect of systemization, whether it's time management, task management. We do like a specifically client onboarding. This is for service-based, purpose-driven entrepreneurs. Client onboarding, financial streamlining, all sorts of
Because
different
there's a
areas.
bookkeeping aspect to your business
Yeah,
too.
there is.
Yeah.
So I have, there's two sides. I do the systems coaching, which is like coaching and consulting and teaching people how to implement systems. And then I also am a bookkeeper. And so I have bookkeeping clients that I manage on a month-to-month basis. And I also teach people how to do their own bookkeeping. Yeah.
Lots of good
So
systems.
look how deep you can go with a systems person. Like this is what I want people to hear. Like when people hear systems people, they're like, it's, people
Practical, tangible, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yet we're complex as human beings. So
We are.
don't write somebody off because
Yeah.
you think that they think only a certain way.
Well, and there's two sides to my business. And the reason that I built it the way that I did is that I'm both. I'm very practical, tangible on one hand, and I'm very, very deep on the other hand. And so the other part, you think of like efficiency in systems. I help people create more efficiency in their mind and their body as well, because what will happen is they'll come up against, limiting beliefs and fears and traumas that are in their body. And so the other side of what I do, we do practical, tangible. We implement all the practical, tangible things until some sort of block comes up, and then we deal with that. So yeah, it's both sides.
Love it. Like I said, you're totally speaking my love language. Yeah. I remember the embodied, I took embodied bookkeeping and embodied, and somatic money, like work. And it was life-changing for me.
I would love to hear about embodied bookkeeping sometime. That sounds interesting.
We'll have another connection.
Yeah, sounds great.
Thank you so much for being here. It has been an absolute joy. Thanks for going on the deep journey with us today. Yeah.
Thank you for having me. This has been a beautiful conversation. And honestly, these are the conversations that fill my cup. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah. It was so great having you on the show, Adhya. And thanks to you, listener, for tuning in. Everyone, take care.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
And that's all for this week's episode of the Empowered and Embodied Show. We hope today's episode has sparked something within you. Remember, we're all on this journey together. If something did resonate with you today, why not share it with a friend who might need to hear it too? You can find us everywhere you listen to podcasts. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you're feeling generous, leave a review. Your feedback not only helps others find the show, but also helps us understand what's most valuable to you. Until next time, be kind to yourself, stay curious, and remember, we're walking right alongside you. Thanks for being part of our community.